Welcome to Mediapath. I'm Fritz Coleman.
And I am Louise Palanker.
Here on Mediapath, we throw down suggestions on content you might find interesting, like movies and TV shows and streaming and cable and video on demand, discarded VHS tapes, pirated basement recordings, things that have piqued our interest, and we hope they do the same for you. Weezy, what do you have for us this week?
So have you been watching Mare of Easttown?
No.
HBO, Kate Winslet, once again, our greatest American actors are British. And she's British, and you would never know that she's from the UK. She seems extremely American. She's absolutely Pennsylvanian. As her personal life crumbles around her, a small-town Pennsylvania detective, Mare Sheehan, pours herself into investigating a local murder. The series explores the darker corners of life in a tight community, and it examines the wrenching ways in which family and tragedy can hold us together while tearing us apart. Brilliantly acted. She's so good in this. It's just riveting.
Good in everything. Good suggestion.
Yeah, well, and they're rolling out one a week because it's HBO, and they're selfish like that.
Well, perfect. I have two streaming docs this week.
Okay.
The first one is on Netflix called The Bleeding Edge. And what caught my eye about this, it's done by the fine folks that brought you the Woody Allen, Dylan Farrow series on HBO, Amy Ziering and Kirby Dick. The premise of this one is, we all think big pharma, the pharmaceutical industry, is this giant, powerful menace that controls our lives. But as it turns out, the medical device business is even bigger and more insidious. It's a $400 billion a year industry. There are a couple of things that make this business really disturbing. One is the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, which is responsible for testing and approving these new medical devices. The FDA is made up of commissioners, most of whom are or have been connected to the medical device industry. The FDA is a classic revolving door where commissioners get appointed because of their industry connections, or when they're finished their tenure as a commissioner, they got a high-priced gig when they leave. There's dark money that ends up through lobbyists, and just like with drugs, doctors can be compensated for using or recommending different devices. Totally legal. Kickbacks are legal. And that setup seems questionable enough, but then you have to add the element of what's called pre-market approval. It turns out that new medical devices, they use smaller studies, shorter studies than they use to test drugs. That is to say, new medical devices, before they are cleared to be put on the market, are not adequately tested. And 70% of the testing is done by manufacturers themselves, which is obviously a conflict of interest. And if a product is proven to be unsafe, it's harder to get it taken off the market than it is to approve it to get it on the market. It's frightening. They do an IUD called eSure. They do cobalt hip replacements. They do this cervical mesh stuff. And I mean, giving folks constant medical problems for the rest of their lives. So anyway, here's how they end it. They give you tips. Here's what you have to remember. If you need something like a hip replacement or any device implanted, research the device online, always get a second opinion, and ask your doctor if he's being paid by the manufacturer of the device.
Also,
it's
no yard sales.
Say that again?
No yard sales.
No yard sales.
Purchase it through a trusted authority.
My ex-wife had 2 hip replacements. And as soon as I saw this thing, I called her and said, "Did you get the cobalt hip replacement?" She said, "No, mine's titanium." But the cobalt one, cobalt as a chemical leaches into your body, compromises your immune system, and gives you Parkinson's-like symptoms. And it's just... The horror stories are terrible. So you have to do your due diligence. Yeah, go ahead.
Because people were already experiencing problems, which is why they needed to replace a part of their body. And now it's difficult when you get that, factory recall letter and they want your hip back.
That's right.
Heartbreaking. All right. So I have a little bit of shame in this game. I've been watching a reality game show called The Circle on Netflix. Are you familiar, Fritz?
Nope.
Okay. So bear with me. This is going to be to you a little alarming that this is what I'm spending my time doing. This is a game show where players move into separate apartments in the same building, and they communicate only virtually through a specially designed app called The Circle. And just like in the real life fake internet, they can portray themselves in any way they choose. They can play as themselves or catfish style. So, for example, one contestant is playing as her husband and making him a single dad. You know, that's pretty adorable. One contestant is a tall, techie male playing as a hot young female, and Lance Bass's assistant is playing as Lance Bass. The show is hosted by Michelle Buteau, and her voiceover is extremely funny. I know this is a lot of data for you to download. Fritz, do you have any questions?
I just love the whole idea of gender fluidity in a game show. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, but they're all trapped in their own apartments, so they never actually encounter each other. So when an alert comes up on their TV, they freak out because they're just so lonely that any information is just like manna from heaven. They're like, oh my God, we're playing a game. It's fun to watch.
Sounds great.
Do you want to introduce our guest?
No.
Even more fun.
I got to do another thing here. Hang
one
on.
more thing. Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is really important.
Yeah.
My second selection is another documentary you can find streaming on Prime. It's called Time, as in doing time, surviving the passage of time, the inevitability of time. It's directed by Garrett Bradley. It's the story of Sybil Fox. She's a woman whose husband is in jail on a 60-year sentence for bank robbery. And this is her fight to not only get her husband out of jail, it also is her fight against the system that tends to over-incarcerate black men. She'll describe the prison system as racist and nothing more than a system of slavery. She's a very compelling public speaker. You'll see her in front of small and large groups making her point. But to me, the most compelling thing about this film is that for 20 years, with the use of old school home video cameras, Sybil has been taking videos of herself raising 6 boys without her jailed husband. It's 20 years worth of sometimes grainy home video of this woman's daily fight to keep her kids on track. We get to observe her physical and emotional changes over 20 years. We watch her blossom into a confident adult woman, becoming a strong advocate for not only her husband, but other men trapped in the system. It all builds up to the day her husband is released. It's a very touching story about a fiercely devoted mother and wife. And whether or not you're drawn into the big argument about prison in general that we're all having right now, you will admire this woman for her dogged determination, staying loyal to her kids and to her husband. Her husband finally gets released after doing 20 of his 60-year sentence. Pretty good story. Pretty touching.
Wow.
I can't wait to bring on our guest. For my money, one of the best writers in comedy. I've known him from the stand-up world, but you could tell when he was doing stand-up that he had an interesting take, interesting observations, and very smart language. And you knew this dude was destined to make his way to other formats, which he did. He's a comic and an actor and a writer and a voiceover artist. He wrote and performed on The Ben Stiller Show, wrote and produced on The Simpsons, made appearances on Seinfeld and King of Queens. You've seen him on HBO, Showtime, Comedy Central. He's got a great new podcast, The Dana Gould Hour. It may be the only podcast, Weezy, that has its own singing jingle. It's very impressive. He's the host of an hysterical talk show parody called Hangin With Dr. Z, where he dresses up like Dr. Zaius from the Planet of the Apes and does a better Carson than Carson. We're happy to visit with Dana Gould today. Welcome, Dana.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
My resume is horrifying.
No, it's not. It's
electrifying.
Diversification personified.
Yeah,
it's excellent.
It's like that kid who was in every club in high school. That was you, right?
And in a decades long avoidance of profit.
That's commitment.
That really is.
Yeah, I didn't know. I just found out that I've been classified as a nonprofit by my accountant.
But let's talk about pandemic-inspired innovation, which I think
Sure.
Dr. Z, Hanging With Dr. Z, because we were first told about this by Denny Tedesco, who's your producer, and we
Yes.
and we both said,
a dear friend.
What? And then of course you watch it, and the elevator pitch would be if Merv Griffin were an ape.
Yes, perfect. To give you the backdrop to how it all started, we go back to I was a writer. If I'm assuming that assuming we want to, or we can just move on.
Oh, no, I want to hear everything.
My ex-wife also has 2 titanium hips. Isn't this a strange coincidence?
There's a pattern here.
Yeah. Is her name? No.
Wait.
Long story longer. I was a writer in the early 90s on the Ben Stiller show, and I shared an office, very funny guy who I met at that time and became very good friends with, named Rob Cohen. And I had an idea for a sketch for the Ben Stiller show, and it was, when a musical comes to town and they do a commercial for it, it's like, I remember, I'm from Boston, like at the Wilbur Theater, it's the Music Man, and then they would have the clips from the Music Man as filmed on stage. And I thought it would be funny to do coming soon, Planet of the Apes, the musical. And it was a constructed musical of Planet of the Apes. This was before the Simpsons did it, and they did it later, and I had nothing to do with it, with their version, which was much funnier than my version. I didn't get to do it on the Ben Stiller show because we got canceled. But
that was the show that launched him as a that was the
as everything. One. Yeah, that Janine Garofalo came from that show. Bob Odenkirk came from that show. That was everybody's. That had a good quality group. So the idea was the first commercial parody would be for Planet of the Apes the musical, and the second commercial parody and the other half of the show would be from the producers of Planet of the Apes the musical, Dr. Zaius in Mark Twain Tonight. And it would be Dr. Zaius dressed up as Mark Twain doing Mark Twain Tonight. And I thought it was really funny, and the show got canceled. I, being a Planet of the Apes nut, just wanted to do the makeup. That's the only reason you write the show, is so you can do it. That's the whole point. So we never got to do it. Years later, 2010, so 18 years later, I'm talking to John Hodgman, who I'm sure you all know from The Daily Show, and he had found a picture of Maurice Evans as Dr. Zaius reading Mark Twain's biography, and made an internet challenge to somebody send in Dr. Zaius doing Mark Twain Tonight. We were talking on the phone about something completely irrelevant, and I said, it's so funny, I wrote that as a sketch 20 years ago.
Wow.
For the Ben Stiller show. And he said, I'm doing a show in San Francisco at Sketchfest. Do you want to do it? And my first response was, no, that sounds like a giant pain. But then I thought, well, no, I have resources. I'm very good friends with a lot of special effects makeup people. And I literally was like, let me call you back. So I call up Greg Nicotero, who is now the exec producer of The Walking Dead and directs most of the series. And he has a big special effects company called KNB Effects, and they're huge. And all the Tarantino movies, they do it. So, and he's just my friend. So this is the conversation. I call up and I go, hey, Greg, do you know of anybody that I can pay to go to San Francisco with me and do a Dr. Zaius makeup on me, like a movie quality Zaius makeup? Hang on a minute. Do you want to go to San Francisco? Sure. Yeah, no problem. That was it. That was the conversation.
Let me check my book.
I called back. No, he just yelled across the room. He was at work. Anybody
okay.
Yeah, sure. So I called up John and said, yeah, I'm in. And you can see that on YouTube. It's if you go Dana Gould, Mark Twain, or Dr. Zaius, Mark Twain.
Wow.
It will come up. And the reason it's so funny, the only reason it's funny is because the makeup is exactly what they had in the movie.
Absolutely.
It took 3 hours to put on, takes an hour and a half to take off. I had to have my head molded. I mean, because the joke only works if it's him.
Right.
It doesn't work as a crappy mask.
And then everything else
mask,
everything else becomes irony, because on your show, you do topical monologue, and you hear you hear this ape making these metaphysical points, which are hysterical.
Well,
that the costume makes it funnier.
Right, exactly, and that was the beauty. So I did him on that, and then people, hey, do you want to? And I ended up doing him like I would host benefits as him. I introduced Planet of the Apes when it aired on TCM as him. It just became this weird cottage career of mine of doing weird appearances as Dr. Zaius. And over the years of doing him, he developed his own personality where I started to turn him into this weird showbiz guy. Like you said, Merv Griffin is exactly it. I remember being a kid watching, like, whenever Orson Welles or anybody would come on Merv Griffin, they would talk about famous people, but like they were their friends. So it's like, I'm over at Susie Flechette's house. We go antiquing. She's in a bad mood because she's in escrow with Alan Alda. They're not speaking. So and I love that world, that show business world. And so that's what Dr. Zaius became.
So explain Dr. Zaius's personality in the movie. Because I
in the
did
movie,
some
he's
research.
Mitch McConnell. He's Mitch McConnell of the Apes. In the movie, he's the villain. He's the villain in the movie, and the way he's the evil ape that wants Charlton Heston dead because he knows that mankind used to run the planet, and that's the big secret in the ape culture. And Charlton Heston is proof that they're living a lie. So he wants him dead. I played him like that was a role, but he did lots of other stuff. And I did lots of other things. I was doing with 6 you get egg roll with a very young Lindsay Wagner at the Pasadena Playhouse. It's just that kind of, I was doing, Jamie Farr and I were doing Holmes and Watson on ice. It's
like way inside 70s showbiz.
And the crap that these people had to do to make a living, Adam West and I were doing a 2-man version of Apocalypse Now. We performed it at car shows all across the country, whatever these poor guys had to do to make a living. But now we're in the pandemic. My Ben Stiller off-mate Rob Cohen says, why don't we do Dr. Zaius's talk show from the 70s? And because it's the pandemic, we can do it all COVID friendly because we'll have them in another room. We'll film them on a monitor.
Right.
You'll talk to them like Space Ghost Coast to Coast on Adult Swim.
Yeah.
And just think about it. Like, no, I'm not going to think about it. That's it. That's brilliant. That's what we're going to do. And then I called your Denny Tedesco, your friend of mine, and said, like, hey, we want to do this thing. And that's how it came. And then it just became calling our friends and saying, like, we have this ridiculous idea. Do you want to do it? And it was like it was literally a labor of love for me, and for other people it takes an hour out of your day, and it's ridiculous. And it was at the height of the pandemic, so no one was doing anything.
You have all the talk show constructs. You have the music guy, Rusty Steele, with the steel wheels there, who always has this nonplussed look on his face and responds to you with like half-hearted enthusiasm when you ask him a question. But you were talking about constructing fake commercials on the Ben Stiller show. One of my favorite things about Hanging with Dr. Z is the commercials.
Yes.
They're fake commercials. My favorite one is Mickey Rooney's Potato Fantasy Family Restaurant in Sherman Oaks.
You have now, and again, like I really want to give everybody credit because it's not. I mean, those products are created by a really brilliant guy named Chris Shapan, and he makes those things and puts them online, and just like on his Facebook page. And I'm just a fan, and I contacted him. We have mutual friends, and I said, like, hey, we're doing this thing. You want to be involved? Like, yeah, I'd love to be involved. And then Mike Upchurch, who edits the commercials, Chris's products. And again, these are all people that have other jobs. They're all doing other stuff. But they did this because it was the pandemic and it was fun. My favorite was Tor Johnson's Liver and Onions. Come for the liver and stay for the onions.
And there's another one on your merch page. Sponsored by the Bevilacqua Heating and Air Conditioning Company.
That was that's the mythical sponsor of my podcast.
I don't even know what that means. It's just saying it is fun.
Yeah,
Now-
well, that's when you grow up in
Oh, my
Massachusetts.
God.
That's the kind of sign you see everywhere. You know?
Now, Dana, what would we find if we were to freeze the closing credits?
It's the show's 10 minutes long, so we make it as and we have all of the regular credits, and then we have stuff interspersed within the credits to keep people paying attention. And it's Joel Hodgson, who created Mystery Science Theater, said something that really stuck with me once about a joke. We're old buddies, and he said, not everybody will get it, but the right people will get it.
That's right.
And so, we'll have like a telephone consultation, Martha Mitchell. We're not afraid. We'll do a David Beagleman reference. We're not afraid to go deep. A union representative who's asking. We pack it pretty solid.
Yeah,
and the beauty of it is a show unto itself. We're not doing this because we want someone to see it, and then we'll get a thing, and then we'll do it here, and it will become another. It is what it is.
No, I recommend for
We're
the
doing another
unschooled,
season of it.
for the unschooled and Hanging with Dr. Z, you have to watch, and I guess they can download these on your website. They're only 10 minutes long. You got to
Hangin' with
see the
Dr. Z, Doctor. It's on
Patton
YouTube,
Oswald episode is killer.
Yeah,
It's so fun.
Patton and Dr. Z are pretty reference savvy. we went toe to toe. Yeah, they're the episodes. We had Steven Weber, Tim. I'm just reading the guests: Steven Weber, Tim Meadows, Bobcat, Janet Varney. I was a guest.
yes, and Dr. Z interviews you as if he's your friend's uncle at a barbecue.
It's very, very, it's very Midwest. Why aren't you more famous? Don't you want to be more famous? I don't understand. No, it's just how it is.
It's just
I
packed
always
with
love
packed with
comedy
advice.
roots. And we're going to talk about your comedy roots because I always find that fascinating. You were, I mean, just starts because you started with a lot of famous people in San Francisco, but
well, I started in Boston originally.
Oh, that's what I wanted to know because you went to Framingham for a year.
How do you know that?
I've had you totally vetted. But that's what I wanted to know because it says that you started at 17, but then moved to San Francisco. But I wondered how you avoided the very rich Boston stand-up market.
I didn't. I was a big part of it. I started doing stand-up less than 2 weeks out of high school. I did my first open mic at this place in Boston called the Ding Ho, which is sort of a legendary comedy club in Boston. Stephen Wright was discovered there. And then I went to college for a couple of years, but I was always coming back and doing open mics and stand-up. And then I lived in Boston and worked as a comedian in 84 and 85. And then I moved to San Francisco in late 80. Yeah, I stayed in Boston 85, 86, moved to San Francisco in 87.
Two of the hotbeds of the growth of stand-up.
Yeah, no, they were. It was, people don't understand, and this is in the mid 80s at the comedy boom, and I worked a ton, and here's why I worked a lot in Boston at the time. As a comedian in the mid 80s, I had a car and I didn't do drugs.
Wow,
so
that
meant, well, here's why that was important, because there were gigs in Boston and there were one-nighters all over Massachusetts. There was a one-nighter in West Stockbridge, Massachusetts on Saturday, and Amherst, New Hampshire on Friday, and Quincy, Mass on Thursday, and comedians were just working every night. I mean, I was 20 years old, making $800 in cash a weekend doing stand-up comedy. I mean, it was ridiculous. And because I had a car, I could drive comedians to these other shows.
Right.
And they always liked it when I did it because they didn't have to share their drugs with me because I wasn't interested.
Yeah.
So there was a get him.
So you were there. You were in the Boston. It was Stephen Wright, one of the brilliant.
He had moved on and become funny, but
I mean, where they grew, because that town.
Stephen Wright, Bobcat, Lenny Clark,
Bobcat Goldthwait,
Dennis Leary was out of there, and then people that aren't necessarily famous, but people like Steve Sweeney, Don Gavin, these local legends, Ken Rogerson, and all of these people. It was an incredibly fertile ground to become a comedian. You would work every night with great comedians and in front of very tough audiences because it's Boston,
like the New York type thing.
Exactly.
And then you moved to San
I went to
Francisco.
San Francisco, which was like slipping into a hot tub.
But this was early to mid '80s. And
mid-80s.
my only reference for that is Bobby Slayton told me one time that it costs him money to come down and do showcases in LA because you could make a living in San Francisco with 100%. All the paying clubs. And so you came out of this petri dish where Robin was working, Dana Carvey, Paula Poundstone, Bobby Slayton, all in the Bay Area. My only reference to this was I never worked there. I worked there once at Cobb's Pub for one night. But it was a showcase. I didn't even get paid. But
that's where I cut my teeth, really.
But I remember they used to have these comedy competitions down here, and they do a night at the Ice House, and then they do one at the Comedy and Magic Club, and these guys would all come down from San Francisco and beat the shit out of the LA comics and take their little money and go back up to the Bay Area and make a living at it.
Yeah, you
could
absolutely make a living.
How are we ever going to compete with these people?
Goldthwait, who I knew from Boston, and is to this day one of my best friends. He was not only making a living in San Francisco as a comedian, he was making a great living in San Francisco as a comedian. He went down to LA and probably lost money right away, and then hit with Police Academy and started making movies.
I was working at the Comedy Store one night, and it was the night that they were having Whoopi Goldberg do a showcase for Spielberg and Mike Nichols and all these people involved with The Color Purple. And Bobcat opened for her, and I'd never seen him before. And it was a haunting experience. It was brilliant, but it was so different and weird. I thought, that's the bravest man I've ever seen on stage.
It's interesting because what I knew, because I knew him, we all were the same age, and we all liked the same stuff. We liked punk music and bad science fiction movies and comic books. We weren't jocks. We weren't, and what people who didn't. Bob's act was very punk. He was making fun of stand-up comedy, and people didn't understand that. Which is, to me, which makes it even funnier. But Bob is he's directed like 6 movies. I mean, written and directed films. He's a brutally intelligent man.
He's brilliant.
Yeah, and it's performance art. It's a very Dadaist kind of thing. What he was doing, making fun of stand-up comedian. What if the guy was so nervous that he literally couldn't function? That was the origin of that character, and always doubted him that people didn't understand that.
and he did the world's greatest Bono impression that was ever.
Yes, he did. They look alike anyway. Yeah. They look alike anyway. But yeah, it always beguiles him. And we have a concert film that we shot just before the pandemic called Joyride. He and I went on the road together, did shows together, and we were filmed driving to it's literally February of 2020 we filmed it, and we're just now shopping it, and so we're tight, and to this day he doesn't understand people that don't understand what he's doing. He just scratches his head.
Well, being a sort of showbiz lore fanboy,
Yes, very much.
Did you have any early experiences when you entered show business of like encountering some people that you had watched and enjoyed growing up?
Oh my God, I met everybody. I mean, if I ever write a book, I just want to write a book called I Met Everybody. But to me, and you know, I grew up in a very working class environment in Massachusetts, and I have a very big family. It's a just big Irish Catholic family, 6 kids in a 3-bedroom house. And, you know, there were like, you know, 4 things that everybody would agree to watch on television and that everybody would shut up when it was on. And other than that, it was chaos. But, you know, like if a Clint Eastwood movie was on, or a James Bond movie was on, or the Andy Griffith Show was on, or if George Carlin was on, everybody would shut up and watch it. And it was, you know, it was no discussion. So Carlin was always my hero. And I wrote him a letter right when I started out, because I got very lucky and was on an HBO special after doing comedy less than a year.
Wow.
It was comedians that were still in college. It was this weird thing called campus comedy, and the actor John Michael Higgins was on it, and Ed Solomon, who wrote Men in Black and the Bill and Ted movies, was on it, and I was on it. We were all at our teens, and the producer produced George's specials, and I just wrote him a letter, and he wrote me back.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And then I got to meet him, and then I ended up interviewing him for HBO like a couple years later, and then we were both in this movie called The Aristocrats.
Oh,
And you know, and that is somebody that, like, we weren't friends, but we were friendly acquaintances, and to have that with somebody that you looked up to, who was like, you know, to me, he was everyone on Mount Rushmore, you know. It was just
my feelings exactly.
Yeah. And as Fritz, as I'm sure you, and as Fritz knows, the brilliant thing about him was he was as nice a man as he was brilliant. I mean, he couldn't have been more solicitous and understanding and patient with people. And I learned a lot about the responsibility of having fans from him. Like I have been talking to him when people just walked up and interrupted. Like, we'll talk like, "Hey, I saw you in Indianapolis in 1972." And he was always kind and never like, "Hey, I'm talking to this guy." Like, he was always, and then he would turn to me and say, like, this moment is about them. This moment is not about us.
Well,
and you know, he just knew he knew how to do it.
he was my hero. He was my hero.
Yeah.
He made. I'll tell you. I met him a couple of times when he was, because my office was right over the Tonight Show, and I would.
Sure, yeah, that's right.
I would lurk in the hall when I knew he was going to be on, hoping he would come up and say, "Oh my God, you're the greatest weatherman on the planet." he never did that. But my experience with him was the first time I ever saw a stand-up was George, and they used to have these things on the East Coast, and they might have had them in Massachusetts, called these summer music fairs, where when the weather got nice, they would erect these Cirque du Soleil type sweeping tents that were very sophisticated. They housed like 3,000 people. And I did this one at Valley Forge Music Fair, it was called, with a rotating stage. And, you know, when an hour was up, you'd be around at the same place you started.
Wow.
So the first, I'd never seen stand-up before. I mean, I'd seen it on the Ed Sullivan Show, but I didn't know the mechanics of it. I didn't know that you start and you build this block of material and you memorize it over time.
Sure.
And I saw this guy do 90 minutes of just brilliant observations without consulting notes, without making one error in speech.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I felt like it was, I'm sure people had that experience the first time they saw Billy Graham or something, but it was truly,
Yeah.
I'm not exaggerating.
That's eye-opening. It's
a religious experience.
It is.
I never thought
It
I could
is.
do it myself, but he was the guy that made me just appreciate this art form. And no one has ever mastered language better than him. That's all I have
Yeah,
to say.
and he made it. I mean, my opinion of stand-up comedy is that it can be an art form,
Mhm.
and he is one of the people that made
Absolutely.
it made it so. And I've had weird, like, I was on the second to last Bob Hope special. I've had a very bizarre career in terms
Great
of,
experiences. You're diversified. Here's how diversified you were. You and your friend Rob Cohen used to write jokes for video games. I didn't even
Yes.
know they had jokes in video games.
Rob, who came up with the idea for Hanging with Dr. Z. We got, we've done a bunch of stuff together, all of our life. We wrote this video game called Gex at the height of video games in the mid to late 90s. And it's the only thing I've done in my career that my kids think is even a little cool. I have three daughters, and the two older ones are teenagers now, and they didn't even know that I did it, because it's not something that I don't talk about myself. And their nanny said, like, well, your dad was in a video game, and they're like, what? You were in a video game? Like, that's the thing.
That's awesome.
That was the thing, the only thing they liked.
So how are the jokes revealed within the playing of the game?
Well, the character, it's funny, there is a lot of Dr. Z in it, really, now that I think about it. There was a character called Gex, and he was a gecko lizard, and he looked exactly like the Geico lizard. And he would go through these levels, and he was just Johnny Carson. He would just do wisecracks along the way.
Yeah.
Like Johnny Carson. And I'm trying to think of we really went heavy on the Carson stuff. And there was there's one thing where he's on that's him, where he's on a raft, and there's these animals coming out of the water trying to attack him, and the line was something like, I haven't been this nervous in the water since Elkie Summers' hot tub party. It's just like, we really had it. But man, and when I go on the road, because I still perform for the love of it, it's like I do stand-up comedy the way people golf. It's like I gotta do it or I go nuts.
Right.
I inevitably will get some of the game to sign.
Oh wow, that's so cool. Well, I know a lot of people are getting into Dr. Z, because when Denny first told us about it, I saw the number of views, and then researching for this show, it's just kind of like it's caught fire.
Well, yeah, YouTube has this weird algorithm, but doesn't. But at a certain point, it metastasizes.
Right.
Like, it goes by magnitude. Like, once you get up to 10,000, then it goes like 20,000, 40,000, 80,000.
Because it starts showing your video to people that liked similar things. It's now become
right. And I don't expect anybody, I don't expect anybody to get it. I don't know if you know, there's a really, Fritz, I'm sure you know Andy Kindler.
Of course.
Brilliant. Andy has a thing that I always say, my target audience is men my age who are me. I don't really, but I think because of that, you can come up with something incredibly specific, like Hanging with Dr. Z. Like, nobody's going to say, what? How do we really break through? Well, there was a character in a science fiction movie 50 years ago.
But the thing is, though, like what Andy meant was, if it's amusing to you, it will be amusing to other humans who have similar tastes as yours.
Yeah, and
so
there
for
are people that do like it. Yeah.
And so for people that get into Dr. Z, there's a lot of added value on the website. I highly recommend that you go to the website, and you're going to find things like, for example, mushroom craft. Please explain.
Dr. Z's Mushroom Freakout. Dr. Z's Mushroom Freakout, was the video game that he did. He has stories. He's a lot of stories, and he was there it is. Mushroom Madness Papercraft. He got drunk on a. The story was it was in the mid 70s, and every year he would go to a 24-hour mahjong fest at Lou Reed and Laurie Anderson's house, and he had to get to the airport and fly back to the coast because he was doing a Macmillan and Wife two-parter, and he had hoped to fall asleep on the plane, but he got stuck sitting next to the president of Atari, so he agreed to do this video game just to get some sleep on the flight. And we have a really brilliant a guy who developed this. So this is our version of merch. We're pretty egalitarian. We're pretty hippified. This is free. This is all you have to do is download it and print it.
It's like paper dolls. It's like a paper doll.
You can make a little miniature video game with a little miniature Dr. Z that'll stand in front of it, give you the thumbs up, and people have done it and people love it. That's one of my other favorite products, the National John Cassavetes Pudding Academy.
And
what kind of man loves pudding? John Cassavetes. That's who.
That's it. And Nimoy World is one of my favorites.
There's Mickey Rooney's Potato Fantasy. Oh my God.
And then also you have a playlist, the Dr. Z playlist, which features everything from Claudine Longet to
Dr. Z's
Walter Brennan.
This is also It Takes a Village. This was a lot of Denny Tedesco's work. Dr. Z, Dr. Z is from the era of the groovy cocktail 60s.
Shirley Bassey.
And the Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass version of the 60s. So it's his swing. That's his swinging playlist. And this is what him and Dominic Dunn would listen to when they're just kicking back by the pool, waiting for
Speaking of nostalgia, let me plug this. On May 7th, on TCM, Dana's going to be part of a reading of Plan 9 from Outer Space.
I only do things that start with PLAN.
And so, but it's a rich cast. Who else is going to be part of this?
We do this show every year. I do the show every year, and we filmed it. And it has David Koechner, Bobcat Goldthwait, Janet Varney, Lorraine Newman, Deborah Baker Jr., Bob Odenkirk, Jonah Ray, Patton Oswalt, Paul F. Tom, all my friends. And if you've ever seen the movie Plan 9 from Outer Space, it is famously the worst movie of all time, but it's not by any stretch of the imagination the worst movie of all time, because what makes a movie bad is if it's boring. Plan 9 from Outer Space is never boring. Mm-hmm. It's never boring for a second. And it's not just like a bad movie that's a bad movie. It finds new ways to be bad all the way to the end. And at the end, when you think they've done it, they come up with something else that's completely horrible.
So this is free. Yeah. People, if you get TCM in your cable system, you get this, right?
Yes, we did it again. We did it because of COVID. We did it remotely, but we did it black and white. We have miniature effects, and we were just doing our version of the script, and that's another great example of a thing that I really am passionate about, that I really love, and that we just started doing this years ago. There's a guy named Chris Nichols who writes for Los Angeles Magazine, and we were doing a benefit for the Bob Baker Marionette Theater. Mm-hmm. There's a local LA reference. Mm-hmm. And Chris and I know each other and we're buddies. And he said, what you should do is you should do a live reading of Plan 9. because we used to do, back in the days at Largo, we did a live reading of The Day the Clown Cried, which is the Jerry Lewis Holocaust prison camp comedy that was never released.
It's a genre.
Yeah, it is a genre. But I look it up. He did make a movie about a clown at Auschwitz, and mercifully it was never released. But he did make it. It is on film. Wow. And we did that, and then he said, you should do Plan 9. And again, it was like, well, no, I'm not going to do it. Well, wait a second. No, I can actually do it. And so we did it, and then that turned into a yearly, every Halloween at Largo, we would do Plan 9 live, and it's easy. You just have to read a script. So you always get a great cast, and then because of COVID, we filmed it. You talk about the people that you've met. If you remember the movie Ed Wood, the Tim Burton movie Ed Wood in the 90s, there's a movie that is a great example of, did they make this for anybody other than me? Like I know that but how do they really think anyone else is going to go to see this movie? And since then I've become super close friends with the writers and they're the people that I know Chris Shapan through. But so at that time, I was doing a documentary that I made on horror movie hosts, because it's the only job I think I'm actually qualified to do. I wanted to interview Vampira, who started in Los Angeles. It was the very first person to ever do it, in 1954. Started it here in LA, and knew someone who worked at the Hollywood Book and Poster Store, who knew her, and I wrote her a letter and gave it to my friend, and she came. She didn't have a phone. She was very reclusive, and I interviewed her, and then I wrote her a letter thanking her for doing the interview, and she wrote me back. And then I wrote her back. I took her to lunch, and we became incredibly close for the last 15 years of her life. We were, she was in her 70s and 80s. But sort of like if you remember the movie Ed Wood, the relationship that Ed Wood had with Bela Lugosi, I ended up having with Mila. Her name was Mila Nurmi, and it was so funny. I became such a fan of that movie, I ended up living my own version. But she's depicted in the Plan 9 read. We have a very actress named Kat Augustin plays her, and. But yeah, no, of all the people that I met and knew, I think it's cool that I did the Bob Hope special. That's all right. But no, I was friends with Vampira.
Yeah, so no, because that means cool. that means more to you.
Much more. Yeah. It's
talking to the 12-year-old kid that you.
Yeah. It's very true. Rob Cohen and I did a show on MTV in the mid-90s called Super Adventure Team, which was a parody of the Thunderbirds. It was the movie Team America, but before Team America, I'd like to stress. So for the lead actor, for the voice, we asked Adam West. We didn't know Adam West, but we wanted to meet Adam West.
Yeah.
So we ended up becoming friends with Adam West. It's like,
that's so cool.
I'm much, it's like, look, when I worked on The Simpsons, we had the Rolling Stones on. I was much more excited to meet Adam West.
I hear you.
Hey, I want to go ahead, Weezy.
No, I hear you. That's just, it's like the stuff that matters to you when you're forming self is the stuff that will continue to matter to you.
Can I ask you a question about The Simpsons before we get too far down the road here?
Sure, but then I have to tell my quick Adam West.
Oh, no, tell your Adam West story. I didn't know you had one.
It takes 20 seconds.
No problem.
Takes 20 seconds. So Rob and I, we work with Adam West. We do the show. It's on a year. It goes by. 2 years later, they have these celebrity autograph shows at the Beverly Garland Holiday Inn on Vineland.
Yep.
Yeah, and Adam is going to be there. So Rob and I are like, all right, we got to go see Adam. And we're rehearsing like, he's not going to remember us. We'll say like, hey, you don't remember us? We did that thing. Thank you so much for doing it. And it'll be, and hopefully he'll be nice and he'll be cool. And so, and we're in our early 30s now. We're adults, and we walk towards his table, and he looks up and he goes, "Here comes trouble." How are you, geniuses? And we were giddy, like we were like, we were shrieking like those girls at the Shea Stadium watching the Beatles play. Like we were just beside ourselves that Adam West knew who we were.
That's adorable.
Couldn't get over it. And again,
that voice, he had that really distinctive
voice. And again, I've rarely encountered the opposite of this, painfully nice.
Wow.
Adam, like these, I've been so lucky that everybody I've met that I've looked up to and that were my heroes, they've been great. And it would be heartbreaking if they weren't,
Yeah. No. But like I met Jerry Lewis, so it happens.
It does happen. I know a couple of other very, very famous prickly pears that I steer clear of.
Yeah. And, sometimes like, you just catch them on a bad day, because in my radio career, I interviewed a lot of celebrities, and you'd get Dionne Warwick in the morning.
Yeah. Boy, you're really running the gamut. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, went over to her house a couple years later. Couldn't have been lovelier. Made cookies, So it's just really same thing happened with Roddy McDowell. Caught him in a bad moment. A year later, he was a doll.
I've heard that about Roddy. It's so funny. When obviously I love Planet of the Apes, there was a time when I owned the most expensive piece of Planet of the Apes memorabilia in existence, Roddy's house.
No.
Wow.
When my ex-wife and I we were married, and we had a house, but we needed a bigger house because we were going to start our family, and we were looking at this one house, and it was a little bit big, and it was a little out of our price range, but it was doable, And then the realtor goes, yeah, there was an actor that used to live here, Roddy McDowell. He was in and I could feel my wife's eyeballs burning a hole in the back of my head. And then we walked out. It was like, well, I guess we found our house.
Wow.
I better love it.
Yeah, and we lived there. But yeah, he was. I'd heard actually. He was very rude to my dentist.
Oh no!
Years ago. Yeah. There's other people that are famously hard to take. I don't want to mention any names. Maybe one rhymes with Blilliam Blattner. I don't know.
It's been rumored. It's been said.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask you about The Simpsons, because it's historic and it's one of the longest running shows on television. I mean, just knockdown, drag out funny every week. How does the writing work on that show? How do you break out stories? Who do you work alone when you write? Do you work with a partner? How does it work on that show?
Well, I'm really indebted to the show because it taught me how to be a writer, how to be a good writer. And I learned a lot there, especially from the specific people, Mike Scully, George Meyer, these like names that you see on the show, John Schwartzwelder. You just see their names, but like just watching them work really raised my game. And the way stories happen is you're in the room and you're pitching to 12, it's a murderer's row. It's like and in fact, it's funny, I was describing it like there's no polite laughter in that room. If your joke isn't good, you'll sit in that silence and like it. Because the theory is like, no, we think you're good. You're here. We're not going to waste time coddling you.
Yeah.
We've all blown some clams, as they say. And for my first episode, I had an idea. My dad was a bartender, and I would love Mo, and I want to do a show where where Homer had to take over Moe's. Something happened to Mo, and Homer had to take over Moe's. And because I had some experience of like having your dad work at a bar. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of things I knew there's places you could go to.
Specific.
Yeah. And then so somebody goes, yeah, maybe Mo goes back to like a refresher course in bartending school, like surgeons have to do. Like every 2 years you're gonna go back to school. And then that spawns an idea. And then it's very collaborative. And then you go out and you write up, a very detailed outline, like a 21-page outline. And then they'll tear that apart. Then you write the script and then tear that apart. And then you bring in the script and they rip it to shreds. You're lucky if 3 or 4 things survive, but it's always being made better. And, I don't say that with any, I'm not grumbling. It's how it works and it gets better. And, writing on a television staff is nowhere to be if you think that your words are precious. If it's just you're there, you're a part of a team, you're a part of a process, and because of that, I'm very lucky that I have very healthy attitudes towards collaboration. And I'm writing a movie now for somebody and I'm getting paid a lot of money to write it. And, notes are helpful. And even if they're not helpful, if it's somebody else's money, you better listen. You might not agree, but you have to listen. And, but rarely, even if it's not a good idea, if it challenges your idea, it will let you see if your idea is strong enough to withstand a challenge. And all that stuff is good. All that stuff is healthy and good, and that's the reason the show has lasted as long as it has. Jim Brooks instilled in that show a brutal commitment to quality that is unforgiving, and the show benefits from it.
Yeah, and that's why every episode is timeless. They're just going to live forever.
And I put that brutal commitment to quality not only in my MTV puppet show, but in my YouTube monkey talk show.
Well, as if you're not busy enough, then you have the Dana Gould Hour podcast, which is really good. And I love the one you did with Cliff Nesteroff.
Oh, yeah.
Because he wrote this book about Native Americans in comedy.
Yeah, we had a little
just the title problem alone will get you to buy it. It says, "We had a little real estate problem," which is one of the funniest things I've ever heard.
Wow.
But anyway, you're really good at all the things you do. You're a very talented person. I'm so glad you were with us today.
I'm really good at the things I let you see me do. The stuff I'm bad at, no one sees.
That's okay. You have a thick and resilient facade like we all do. That's good.
What would happen? What would happen if Jiminy Glick sat down with Dr. Z?
Oh, they would implode. It would be great. Jiminy Glick and Dr. Z have to go on Inside the Actors Studio. Someone said one thing about my podcast, I know we all have to go, but I think this goes back to Denny Tedesco. Denny, I'm a fan of that era and of Denny's dad's music and of all that stuff. And I'm a particular fan I love the Beach Boys, and I love the story of the Beach Boys' father. He was their manager for a long time, Murray Wilson, and he was a brutal man. He was abusive and cruel and a terrible human being by all accounts. And of course, only the children of that guy could write fun, because it's all because it's aspirational. They don't know what fun is. They're imagining what fun would be like. Of course it is. And Denny gave me an LA call-in radio show from 1966. Forget the name of it. And Murray Wilson is one of the guests.
Oh my gosh.
And I patterned the sound of my podcast on that show. I have jingles. I have a song introduction. It's the Dana Gould Hour.
It's really good.
Xylophones. And yeah, it sounds like a call-in radio show from 1966.
Yeah, that's so cool.
That was the goal of it.
That's a really cool aesthetic.
Yeah, so find all this stuff on his website, Hanging with Dr. Z and the podcast and all that stuff.
Yeah,
and now,
DanaGould.com.
Yeah, there's lots of socials to share because you've got Dr. Z socials and you've got Dana Gould socials. So people need to follow you wherever they can find you. And Dr.
As
Z,
I say about Dr. Z and my podcast, free and worth it.
That is beautiful. All right, we're going to post all of this stuff in our show notes, Dana, so that everybody can find you very easily. And here come our closing credits. We would love for you to join us online on Instagram and Twitter, where we are at Mediapath Pod, and on Facebook, where we are Mediapath Podcast. You can find full episodes with all kinds of bonus visual content on our YouTube channel, Mediapath Podcast. We would love to know what media you've been enjoying. You can contact us at our social media or email us at mediapathpodcast@gmail.com. We want to thank our wonderful guests, Dana Gould. Our team includes Dina Friedman, Francesco Damanda, John Maddox, Sharon Bellio, Bill Filipiak, Thomas Hubble, and you. Our theme music is by me and John Maddox. I am Louise Palanker, here with Fritz Coleman, who has something more to say.
If you enjoyed this episode of Mediapath, it would help us tremendously. It would make us more discoverable by potential new listeners if you leave us a quick review on Apple Podcasts. And if you're new here and this is your first time with us, please check out our back catalog. You may even find us binge-worthy. Recent episodes include a look back at pop music memories with Gary Puckett and the Cowsills. Going back to the very beginning, you'll hear exciting and exclusive interviews with Henry Winkler and Keith Morrison. Thank you for spending this great hour with us today, and we would be overjoyed if you took a moment to share your thoughts with us or recommend us to a friend. Bless you.
And here comes our catchphrase, Fritz. We could even say it together. We will see you along the media path.